St. Louis sports fans, go deeper with STL Sports Central Insiders. Get exclusive access to Bernie, Randy, Claves, Jamal Mayers, and more. Plus, your chance to watch a Blues game in the alumni box with Jamal himself. Monthly giveaways, Bernie's columns all week, and support for local sports media. Join now at stlsportscentral.com. On Wednesday, the Cardinals honored JJ Wetherholt, naming him the minor league player of the year, the first of hopefully many awards that JJ Wetherholt will receive throughout his career as a St. Louis Cardinal. And Brenden, you had a chance to talk with JJ along with the minor league pitcher of the year, Brycen Mautz, a name that we mentioned on yesterday's show. And we'll talk about that today on Card Central 365. We are brought to you by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. And Brenden, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to talk with JJ in any capacity since he's been drafted with the Cardinals. So interested to hear what your thoughts were from yesterday's Zoom press conference honoring him and Mautz getting this award.
Yeah, Weatherholt and Brycen Mautz both spoke on Zoom about their respective awards, and excited. And it's so interesting to hear those guys speak and talk about, what that next step might look like, right? Because anytime you're talking to or hearing from a minor league player of the year, obviously the ultimate goal is to get to the big leagues. And one thing that stood out from JJ is just talking about a moment during the season where he was running the bases and came back in and, kind of remarked with how, he was worn down, and talked about, during the season, he had an illness where he missed some time and lost 10 pounds. And so, the durability aspect of it was a challenge at a point in time for him. But then one of the coaches kind of remarked back and said, yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to fight through that if you want to get to the bigs and the next level. And kind of realizing, I think, for these guys who have achieved so much in the minors, now they get the accolades for that, but really they're not yet to the final step that they want to be. And so just kind of thinking about and continuing to stay focused on the things that ultimately get them where they want to go. That's kind of the next step, I think, for both of these guys. And I think realistic for both Mautz and in particular Weatherholt to potentially get that opportunity in 2026 to make that big league debut. And I'm sure that's what JJ is going to be looking for.
You say things like that, and a normal person, with reasonable thoughts, would say, yeah, maybe he does need to start in the minors and kind of work his way up. I'm not a reasonable person, though. I have high expectations of the kid, especially in a rebuilding season. I want to see him up here opening day, right there in the middle to bottom half of that lineup. So he's got a tough road ahead between now and the end of March to, I guess, figure it out. But I did see that he kind of spoke about that yesterday, saying that he's going into spring training next year with a completely different mindset than he's ever gone into a season with before, knowing that, hey, he has a real possibility of making the opening day roster. And that's the goal here. The goal isn't to get a little better, the goal is to make a big league roster and play Major League Baseball in 2026.
Yeah, and I think that goal is definitely a realistic one for him. For Mautz, even more, where it's like, okay, he's on the 40-man roster, so he kind of was asked about, the mental aspect of seeing that you're maybe just one call away once you're on the roster. I think that's still true, though, for JJ. Even though he's not on the 40-man, it's more of a procedural fact. Like, once he is somebody that the Cardinals are ready to put into their everyday lineup, they're going to do all of the transactions necessary to get him there. And I think spring training is obviously the place where JJ Wetherholt is going to have the opportunity to make a mark. Last year, coming into spring, just trying to get in front of the coaches and trying to stay relevant for as long as you can in that spring camp. And the Cardinals gave him some run in the Grapefruit League. I bet that you can anticipate additional run for JJ Wetherholt this time around in Grapefruit League. Not that they're going to, necessarily run and ragged in the spring, but I think they want to get a really good look probably by the time we get to Jupiter and at what it looks like for JJ Wetherholt against maybe some of the more big league caliber pitching that they're going to see, and probably getting a look at him at multiple positions. That's obviously something that he was aware and talking about it yesterday, that he's got some work to do in the offseason to, be ready at third base, be ready at second base, in addition to where he's been most comfortable at shortstop. I think that's probably going to be a big part of his offseason. But really, I feel like the Cardinals feel that the defense is going to come however it's going to come. The bat in particular is what they're going to want to see the consistency from. And if they think it's polished enough, ready enough to help the team out to begin the 2026 season, I think he'll be there. But there's also some things that are outside of JJ Wetherholt's control when it comes to the players in front of him in the pecking order and how many of them could be traded away versus, how many are the Cardinals going to continue to build around and keep in-house. Those are the things he can't control. But the things he can control is just showing up to Jupiter in February and trying to make his mark, which I'm sure a lot of Cardinals fans are looking forward to seeing as well.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on a few other things regarding JJ Wetherholt and his outlook for 2026. But as we get closer to 2026, actually, as we get closer to December 1st, DraftKings Sportsbook will be available to you in the Show Me State, all of Missouri. Get ready. We are just a few days away from that December 1st date that you've had circled on your calendar for so many months now. But right now, you can get in the DraftKings Sportsbook app and you can set up that account and be ready to go on December 1st and use the promo code STL Sports. STL Sports. You see it right there on your screen. And when you bet $5, you'll get a $300 in bonus bets when we go live on December 1st. That's for new Missouri customers. Sign up today and score the $300 in bonus bets when we go live on December 1st in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
So, Brenden, as we kind of look ahead to that 2026, and we mentioned, him being ready to go, I look at, JJ Wetherholt being the 7th overall pick in that 2024 draft. And I know this is something that we've discussed a little bit here. You have Nick Kurtz, the number 4 pick in the draft that year, just winning Rookie of the Year in the American League. And on the other side of Missouri, over in Kansas City, you have Jack Caglianone, who was called up early in the season and was with the Royals all year long. Both guys coming out of college the same way JJ Wetherholt did, having that same college experience and being all top 10 picks. I do think that, I don't think the Cardinals are going to say it, but when you look at guys that were drafted around him that have come up here and had success, that there is a little bit, I would say, of pressure on JJ to perform soon.
Yeah, I mean, you can take that however you want to, I suppose. Like in the case of Kurtz, yeah, he was a masher that was clearly ready and it, was raking in AAA. And I can recall the Athletics didn't call him up at the beginning of the year because where are we going to put him? And eventually they call him up and he continues to be great. And he was great. He was ready made. But you can also look at the other side of that. Like Caglianone was not successful. Like you look at his numbers, they were bad. He's hitting 157. He did need a stint in the minors after getting his initial call up, and I think he finished with an OPS below 600. So, that could be a cautionary tale of maybe bringing up a guy too soon. Although in his case, he was raking at AAA, and I don't think you could make the argument that the Royals did bring him up too soon. But it just does go to show you that different guys are going to perform differently, and you can't necessarily, give a cookie cutter expectation because of where a guy was drafted. I know Christian Moore for the Angels, another infield prospect, was 8th overall, and he had some big league time, but did not necessarily amaze. And then Travis Bazzana, the number 1 pick, we haven't seen him yet. Some pitchers that had shown up, we've seen. Chase Burns got his first appearance. So it's not always going to be universal. I think though it is more common now to see, especially those guys who spend multiple years at the college baseball level. JJ playing at West Virginia is a good situation in the Big 12. You expect those guys to be able to hopefully progress a little bit more quickly. I think JJ has progressed quickly, and now it's just a matter of, he played at AAA and succeeded there last year. What do the Cardinals want to do when it comes to, pulling the trigger on making that next step for him? But I think it's probably more than simply just what they see in the back of the baseball card stats with JJ. But I imagine that a lot of the other stuff that they're looking for as well is the type of stuff in the clubhouse and the day-to-day preparation that he would do well with and succeed with. So I think it's really more of it's not an if, but a when in 2026 are we going to see JJ Wetherholt? Is it going to be from the very beginning of the year? Are the Cardinals going to, because I think in the era now where you do get a draft pick, if you get a rookie of the year up soon enough within the season, in that era, I would think the Cardinals would, especially as a rebuilding team, want to prioritize giving JJ that opportunity if they think he's ready for it. But if they think he's close and not really quite going to be all the way there, that would be interesting, because then, okay, if you wait till June or July to call him up, at that point, it's really not as though it was a gaming of the service time, but you're also not going to have access to his rookie eligibility for a draft pick. So I think that kind of stuff does matter. And I wouldn't say it would be a reason to push him ahead of schedule if you think he's close, but we'd really love to try for that draft pick, so we'll just do it anyway. I don't think that's a reason to do it. But if you think he's ready, I would be moving mountains to make sure he's in that opening day lineup, because I think the possibility of having that draft pick is more valuable than anything you could do for his service time and anything you could do for, like, we're not going to sit here and prioritize, I don't know, Gorman or Saggese's playing time above. I feel like if Weatherholt is ready, it would make all the sense in the world to go ahead and let him have that opening day opportunity.
And that's, you mentioned those two names in particular. Again, like, if we're on this rebuild, on this runway, what good is JJ Wetherholt doing for you down in AAA when you're, I'm fully kind of accepting the fact that Thomas Saggese is going to get a lot more playing time in 2026 than I thought he would. Honestly, I kind of forgot that his name was in the mix and forgot that he was on the roster until about a week ago, when you start seeing about what life looks like without Brendan Donovan on the team. And it's like, oh yeah, he's here too. And if you're going one or the other, just let Weatherholt play, get him in there and just see what you got with him at the big league level. And let's stop messing around with guys that are, good guys off the bench that could start 2 games a week for you in multiple positions. Let's just get the rookie out there and let him go with it. Another name too, by the way, Cam Smith, drafted 14th overall last year, and played pretty much the entire season with the Astros after getting traded by the Cubs. So, another name that was thrown in there, and again, another infielder name too. Yeah,
but that's, of the top 14, 15 picks, you can count on one hand the number that have come up and made that impact, right? So it's not, I'm not saying it's not possible, and I'm not saying that Weatherholt's not ready for it. I think it was okay. Like, we wanted to see him toward the end last year. I still say it would have been to the Cardinals' benefit. Now, we can obviously look today and see that the 40-man roster is full as of this moment, and they've had to jettison a few guys to get it there, and there's probably going to even be some more moves that have to happen. So if you had brought up Weatherholt and he'd be clogging up a 40-man spot right now, who would you be without? And is that a player that you're actually going to be able to retain through in 2026? Because if not, then it's like, okay, was this just maybe a procedural aspect that we probably could have afforded to just, cut the cord on somebody else a little bit sooner? But obviously right now, Arenado's still here, Gray's still here, Donovan's still here, and a lot of those guys could end up being traded, and potentially others. So maybe, that does save the Cardinals being able to retain a player. I'm not going to give an example, but like the reliever that would be on the chopping block, or the extra infielder that would be on the chopping block, they didn't have to make that move because they didn't have a guy who in Weatherholt would be taking up a spot before he had to. And that was the way that they viewed it last year. Obviously, Mozeliak was still at the helm, allowing for Chaim Bloom to now make this decision without any previous input is also, I think, part of why they did it that way. But I also look and go, I do wonder if it's like, man, if Weatherholt had September to be able to, just get his feet wet, kind of like Mason Wynn did a couple of years ago, would that even position Weatherholt even more favorably going into an offseason? Like, I do think that there's an aspect that, I know we talked about it a lot, we beat the dead horse. I still believe it could have been potentially beneficial. But what we don't know is how close do the Cardinals really believe that he is, removed of all of the other ancillary aspects. Like, well, where is he going to play? What about his service time? Like, if you take all of that out of the equation, how ready is he to be an everyday big league player in the minds of the organization? That's a question that I guess we just won't really get the answer to. But if they plug him into the opening day roster, that'll tell you that, he probably had the spring that he needed, and they saw the benefits of exactly what you're saying. There's no real reason to delay it at that point, because in this era where they do reward you for having an elite player, if it's the type of guy that could win a rookie of the year, in past eras, that would be the type of guy you would game service time for, right? But now, even if you do game the service time, if he wins the Rookie of the Year, he gets the full year of service time anyway, and you don't get a draft pick if you wait. So that would be all the reasons I think. Again, I'm going to continue to offer the caveat if he is ready and they believe he is, because we all look at the numbers and go, oh my gosh, let's see him. They're going to have other evaluation processes, and I understand that, but that should be the only consideration. This can't be a year where, well, we couldn't trade Arenado, so we got to play him, or, well, Gorman's still here. How do we get time forget all of that? Like, those other guys can be maneuvered around. I think Weatherholt, if we're really going to say we're not half in, half out on a rebuild, like a lot of Cardinals fans felt was the case last year, now would be the time that you do prioritize and say, if Weatherholt is major league ready, we're playing him. The other stuff can figure itself out.
Cardinals minor league player of the year in 2025, potentially the National League Rookie of the Year in 2026. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We've been reading all of those. I will get better at responding to a lot of those as well, especially the ones where you tell me I'm right and Brenden might be wrong on certain things that we debate throughout our shows.
That ever happen.
The commenters, I don't know. You got to check out the comments on the YouTube page and see what the folks are saying, because we will be here with you every single day during the Cardinals offseason on Card Central 365. He's Brenden Schaeffer. I'm Joe Roderick. We are brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, where the crown is yours, and we'll be back at it tomorrow right here on STL Sports Central.